Welcome to Bleav in Panthers here on the Bleav YouTube channel. You can find the audio across all major podcast platforms. Desmond Johnson here in the house with you, along with the Panthers all-time leading rusher Jonathan Stewart and Panthers on SI beat writer Schuyler Callahan back in the house from paternity leave. Fellas, I think we might have just had one of the greatest drafts in NFL history. I'm sorry. I'm so excited about what they did. Like, it's rare for us to sit here and go, man, I wish Dan Morgan would do this, or I wish Dan Morgan would do that. And then like we sit back and just watch him do like all the things that we wanted him to do over a weekend. So we'll get to what the Panthers did and our favorite draft picks of the weekend. But first we got to talk about the curious case of Shedeur Sanders and what may have happened here. I don't know. I don't like the fact they're labeling this the largest fall in the history of the NFL draft or whatever, like to put that on him coming into the league. Thoughts on this, guys? Like, what do you think happened? Because once Cleveland made that trade at the top of the first, I think people thought maybe they'd pick him at 5. And then when they didn't, and Pittsburgh skipped him like 4 times, it got to a point where it was like, okay, well, if they're not going to get him, I think I texted you guys and I was like, I'm starting to feel like he's not going to get drafted. Stu, you start us off here. What do you think is the number one reason why Shedeur dropped from out of the first round?
All of the reasons.
Pretty easy.
All of them.
All of them.
Didn't I see you say his dad? Didn't you say Deion's his agent?
So, man, there's a lot to just make out of this whole situation. It's unfortunate, to be honest, because I think a lot of what transpired on draft day for him could have all been, in other words, what word am I thinking? It all could have just been, what's the word? Avoided. All of this could have been avoided on draft day, just through certain preparations, right? This is a job interview, and whether we like it or not, Desmond, when I walk into a grocery store, when I walk into a gas station, when I walk into my daughter's school, there's one thing that lingers. You know what I'm saying? And we don't want to make things about race. We don't want to make things about cultural differences. But the fact of the matter is, we are in a world where you are going to be judged no matter what. For whatever you do, whatever platform you're going to be on, a team handing the keys to a guy that's going to lead an organization, they got to trust you. I have no problem with Shedeur Sanders. I have no problem with Deion Sanders. This is a family that has shown the world of what prayer, what repetition, what consistency looks like. Deion Sanders raised 3 sons and a daughter to be absolutely marvelous. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And beating the odds and for Shedeur and his pop to kind of get, labeled a certain way throughout the year. It's obvious, right? Where things were going to go if things weren't handled a certain way when it got to the NFL. The NFL is going to protect that shield no matter what.
Yeah, I don't know as far as collusion or blackballing like Stephen A was saying last week, but something was afoot. Like,
yeah, and I'm saying all this because we all have a responsibility, right? I love the fact that he raps. I love the fact that he's saying I'm more than just a football player, because what people have to realize is that these are kids. These are and they're turning into grown men overnight almost. And they have other passions. I have other passions. But we have to go about our business a certain way. And unfortunately, for the black man, you have to go the extra mile, and it will never change. Okay, and that's just what it is. Now, the Cleveland Browns, these NFL teams looking at Shedeur and judging him, based off of him being black, that's not the case, right? I'm just saying everything that you do is going to be scrutinized in a certain format,
Especially when your last name is Sanders.
Especially when your last name is Sanders.
I think that's kind of. I saw something too during his Giants visit. Y'all remember the Hard Knocks episode or the Hard Knocks series last year with the Giants that went horribly wrong for the Giants in the end. And Dayball, the coach, was bringing in prospects like Jalen Daniels to do the whiteboard thing, like what John Gruden would do. And I'd heard a story where Shedeur came in to do this with the Giants and was like almost offended that they were asking him to do this and he couldn't do it. And Dayball took that as a huge red flag. And that's why the Giants were just like, we're not even going to bother taking him. So, I mean, he did some stuff like not correctly.
And so what's happening is that media, right? They're taking all of these things. And again, your responsibility is to control your own destiny with how you carry yourself, on how you project off to people. That's what all of this is all about. These last several months after the football season was over with, it's a job interview. Like if you show up to a job interview, you know, and people want you to wear a suit and a tie, you better wear a suit and a tie.
You come with the big chain.
You know what I'm saying? But there's a certain way you can drip it up however you want to drip it, right? But you gotta make sure you're not giving them ammo, right? They already got a gun ready to point it, so just don't give them ammo. And so that's where I feel like this thing was dropped. Deion Sanders being their agent. Like that to me is like, man, you have all these resources. Go get the best agent. Go get the very best. If I'm gonna go build a house, if I'm gonna go build a house and I want the best house, I'm gonna get the best developer. I'm gonna get the best engineer. I'm gonna get the best manager to oversee the whole thing. I'm gonna get the best plumber, all of it, right?
You're not
to get the best house.
You're not going to pay. I lived in a house before, like
right?
You're not going to get
you know what I'm saying, or because you had one of the better houses ever. You never built it, but
it's not a nice house. I haven't built mine.
But it's just one of those things, man, where it's just so unfortunate because I feel like all of it could have been avoided in a lot of ways. And you know, when Shedeur, you're not showing up to these. If that's the case, that the whole Dayball situation where he shows up and he's not prepared. This is not just about talent. And I said this kind of on a clip that I shared with Instagram. You know, players do not get drafted off of work ethic and talent. You get drafted based off of whether or not a team's going to trust you, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to hand you the keys to my car and I know you can drive, but if I know you drive reckless, I'm not going to just let you drive my car. Because I want to drive my car tomorrow. I got places to go. Got things to do.
And that GM and Dayball in New York in particular, their jobs might be on the line this year, so they can't risk having that person come in and wreck that car. Schuyler, you said that you had a third grade round on Shedeur last week during the show, so you weren't really surprised that he slipped to the third. But when did alarm bells start going off in your head that something's going on here, that he's dropped way further than any of us thought he was going to fall?
I mean, honestly, like I had a third round grade on him, but I still thought he would have went either in the back half of the first round or early second. When he didn't go in the second round, that's when I knew it was going to start to be a long, long wait for him, because when the Browns passed him up in the first round, the Giants traded back in. You thought maybe it's them, but probably not. The Browns had the first pick in the second round, and then I think like the fourth or fifth pick in the second round. Yep. They had two opportunities there to either take him then, or what they should have done if they really wanted him and felt like he wasn't going to be around is, and I texted you guys this, they could have traded into the first round, had that fifth-year option on the table, and then they still would have had, they would have had the ammo to go and do it. For whatever reason, they felt like they didn't have to do it. They could have waited around, and they ended up getting him anyway. But I think Jay Stu's he's on this with the whole presentation thing. I think in that report, there was something about how he showed up and he had the headphones on, the hat on backwards, music was playing. Man, you can't show up to
I'm not hiring you.
Interview blaring music through your headphones while you're trying to listen to someone talk. You can still be who you are, but like Stu said, you got to still kind of cater to what they want to see too.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's part of the problem. But for me, the way I look at this is, it's almost like Shedeur has a very striking resemblance to Cam's personality, right?
I was thinking that, yeah. But
He walks into the room. He is the guy. He is the center of attention. He grabs everyone's attention when he walks into a room. Shedeur and Cam have that same thing. If you look at Cam, even though, injuries kind of popped up there towards the end, nobody really wanted to give him another chance after he was done with Carolina the second time, because they were afraid that when he steps into that room, he's going to have the command of the offense, the command of the locker room, and he's not even the starter. Everyone's going to be asking, when's Cam going to be the guy? When's Cam going to be the guy when he's there to be the backup? Yeah. And I feel like that's the same concern that a lot of NFL teams had when they were going to consider taking Shedeur, is that he's going to be that same backup guy that has all the attention. And
so Schuyler, I will say this. To that's wrong. If you're an NFL team,
yeah, it is.
That's
wrong.
Not going to draft a guy because he has all the attention on him. You better go talk to the NFL, because the NFL shows having Shedeur Sanders all up on their page.
Dude, okay, they're still talking about Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
It's Monday,
and that's what sells tickets. The problem is that when you have a guy that has so much persona and someone in that organization. Like I said, you being who you are, flesh and all, last name and all, your thread on your tire, you ain't got that much, okay? Yeah. All it's going to take for you to have one little spill out, okay? And it's done. And so you have to have that mindset going into these preparations and these meetings. But if a organization is still saying, okay, despite you not being able to interview well, I don't want you here because you're too loud and everything that comes with you is too loud. There's other players in the draft that are louder, that have the same issues that they're talking about. I don't want to hear any of that. Because if that's the reason, you're basically telling Shedeur Sanders, hey, everything that you are, everything that your last name is, everything that you've worked for, we want you to zip that up in a bag and throw it away.
Yeah, we want you to do something different.
And here's where I think his slide goes from third round to fifth round, because it's both on the field and off the field. On the field, I think he's a third round prospect. He's got like a Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett. No, I'm not saying they're comparable, but I'm saying in terms of their ceiling, I don't know that he's much more than that. Is he a game changer, a franchise changer? I don't really know. Like I said before, he doesn't have the mobility to be a dual threat quarterback. He's not a Lamar Jackson. He's not a Josh Allen. He doesn't have huge size. He doesn't have the big time arm. That doesn't mean he can't be a good quarterback. There's plenty of examples of that in the league where guys don't have elite traits and are good.
You just described Tom Brady, literally.
But in the draft, it's all about trying to find that niche guy that has that insane trait. Shedeur doesn't have that. So that's what makes him a third-round guy for me. And then when you factor in the off-field stuff, when you get to that third and fourth round, you're starting to try and fill out roster needs. You're looking for depth at other positions. You're not really concerned about getting a quarterback. That's why when he went past the second round, I knew it was going to be a long wait, because teams are going to be looking to fill up other positions. That's the story of it. I think, again,
let me clarify,
turn out to be a good quarterback, but fifth round, I don't know.
Cleveland slept on it 2 nights before they finally decided to draft him.
Shedeur Sanders don't have any off-field issues.
Right.
Correct.
It's the things that he has gone. It's the preparation for this job interview that people were sitting back watching.
And I think it's the perception of him too.
The perception of that, right? Like walking around, hat back, whatever it is. Like, I mean, the other quarterback had his hat backwards as well, right? Like,
and that's the thing right there, Stu. Like, if teams thought highly enough of him to be a franchise changer, they would have thrown all that stuff to the side and said, we're going into the first round and get him and picking up that fifth-year option.
Let me say this real quick before I switch us over to our draft picks real quick, because I know Schuyler's got a hard out at 11. In terms of Shedeur, Stu, you said this like 2 weeks ago. We had a conversation about fit when it comes to the draft. And I think it got to a certain point past the second round where Shedeur just wasn't going to be a fit, like wherever it was. And then the Browns literally slept on it 2 nights before they were like, this dude's still here. Like, I mean, let's go. They had 4 quarterbacks already. And like, so they took him just because he was the best player on the board. They couldn't avoid it anymore. And I'm curious to see how Shedeur reacts to this, because he can go one of 2 ways with this. He can either bomb out and not be good and prove the NFL right and how they treated him draft weekend, or he can ball out and become the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, or whatever happens, and prove these people wrong. So we'll see if that Sanders blood is in him.
It's an uphill battle at this point, which stinks because he got drafted as a backup.
4th string backup. Yeah.
And he's not even the first backup. Dylan Gabriel right now. Which, by the way,
quarterbacks?
I feel bad for Dylan Gabriel for all this stuff.
Man, look, I hope Dylan Gabriel gets a shot. I hope one of them other 31 teams see Dylan Gabriel over there, go through preseason, throw that ball around, let him go if you want to.
Because they can only keep, 3? Maybe they just signed Joe Flacco not that long ago. And then Kenny Pickett's on the squad. So I don't know. We'll see. I want to get to the draft, the Panthers draft picks real quick. We're not going to go through all of them, but I wanted to go through our favorite ones, because there's a lot to choose from here in terms of who your favorite pick might be. I wanted to start this off with the 4th round pick of Trevor Etienne, the running back from Georgia. I love the pick primarily because what the pick was. That pick was a 4th round pick that we got from the Dallas Cowboys when we traded away Jonathan Mingo. So for them to upgrade to Trevor Etienne, who's kind of that scat back that we talked about, we needed that kind of quickness in a phone booth type of player, that twitch kind of guy. That's him. Like, we needed somebody that could take a little out kind of the backfield and go 35 yards up the field with it without getting touched. That's him. And they found him in the 4th round, like out of Georgia. I love the pick. Like, at this point, I'm floating on cloud 9 watching them do these picks. I'm just like, every one, I'm like, man, how'd they get that? And somebody showed me the preseason top 32, like their preseason predictions for who's going to get picked where or whatever. And out of those 32, 3 of those players we ended up getting in the top 3 rounds or whatever in terms of McMillan and the 2 pass rushers we got. They were predicted to go in the 1st round when the college football season started. We got them all by the end of the 3rd round. So Dan Morgan cooked. I know we talk about it all the time, but I think he destroyed this draft in terms of what we needed team need wise. And then we'll get to the undrafted free agents here in a bit. But Schuyler, you go ahead and go first, because I know you got to get out of here in just a bit. What was your favorite pick out of the Panthers picks that they did over the weekend? Because you got a lot to choose from.
I'd say it comes down to 2. I don't want to talk about Ted because, or T-Mac, I should say, because
I'm getting used to it. Nalo.
But I would say probably Princely McMillan. He's somebody I've had my eyes on for a while. I think he's really special. I think he could probably end up being the better of the 2 pass rushers that they got. I think he's got a higher ceiling. And the other 4th round pick that they had, Lathan Ransom out of Ohio State. Holy moly, man!
I saw some tape on that boy. Yeah,
that boy is a thumper. I seen him thump Oregon in the Rose Bowl. And Jordan James, man, Jordan, I hope you get your lick back. Because
that's
Lathan Ransom gave you one in the Rose Bowl.
All the film I saw on this kid is just him coming downhill like from 20 yards away and just hitting somebody in the hole. I'm like, oh my god!
That's what they needed badly in this defense, is somebody that would become from the secondary, be a willing defender in the run game, because that was a horrible spot for them last year. You get him, Trayvon Moehrig. That's a huge upgrade from where they were a year ago. They still have depth issues.
Both of them are some
depth stuff again.
Yeah, we got some depth issues, but both of them are some thumpers, though. I like that.
They stay on the field, we got a problem. And I want to see a team try to run for 200 yards on this squad if they're all healthy, because they intentionally fortified the middle of the defense with so much stuff and got the edge rushers they needed and still got a toy for Bryce. I was catching a lot of flack online for not wanting them to pick McMillan at 8. Not so much because I didn't think he was a good player. I just didn't want him at 8. I wanted us to trade down. That was my number one choice. I wanted to trade down and get picks.
That we didn't really think about too much. And maybe because we just got so blindsided by, thinking defense. The receiving prospects in this class, really outside of the top couple of guys, it really dropped off.
Yeah, it did.
Rushers, there was depth there for days. And I think that's why they felt comfortable going with McMillan at 8. But ironically, Desmond, I got to mention this. To me, the pick I don't like at all is the one that you like the most in ETN.
Oh,
so I just want to throw that out there. I could be completely wrong on this. Maybe 2 years from now, we'll come back and you can be like, hey, you were completely wrong on it. But I don't mind the pick of a running back. I'm just not all that thrilled about Etienne. Again, I'm not going to write him off just yet. It's way, way too early. But
what would you have wanted to see out of that running back pick then?
Yeah, if they were going to get a running back, who would you have rather have gotten?
That's a really good question. I'd have to go back and see who was available at that time.
Man, Schuyler, you just hating. Why
are you hating on a Monday?
It's just in his veins, man. I got to figure something out.
I think Cam Scatterby would have been a perfect fit.
I did want. He was gone faster than I thought he would be. Didn't he go to the Giants? Was it the Giants that grabbed him?
Giants.
Yeah. So,
but keep in mind that every year, like Des said, everyone thinks they have the best draft. Go back through the years. I would say probably on average 1.5 to 2 of these guys actually pan out and become cornerstones for your team. So who outside of got to stop saying T-Mac, Nalo, who's going to be that guy? To me, it's Emmanuel.
I like Princely. And I also
like his last name?
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel. Staring at it. Like Emmanuel.
We need
one of those bouncing ball things. Like
Princely. We're going to call him Princely. So, look, Princely's off the chain, like the burst that he has. But the 2 guys that I like in this draft, Nick Scorton. I mean, the guy's bend is in his power. Whenever you got a guy that's powerful, but he can actually bend with his power, that's hard for offensive tackles to gauge as far as how am I going to fit on you? You know what I'm saying? So I love the Nick Scorton pick, explosive off the edge. I think he's going to be a great fit for Evero. He's raw. He's raw.
Yeah, he lost some weight. Yeah,
he's going to have to get polished up, but I think that's why you do have a nice veteran room, to basically help guide this guy, right? You get some guys to show him some technique here and there. We forget that, football teams have coaches and coaches have to do their job. And hopefully we get the opportunity to see how these pass rushers develop over time. My second guy, a late guy, Jimmy Horn Jr.
Yes, I was going to bring him up. That was my other guy too.
Ladies and gentlemen. Speed, right? I've been talking about we need a gadget player. We need a guy that can pick him up, put him down, right? So a gadget player, obviously not polishing his routes yet, but the reason why I really love this guy, Jimmy Horn, is because he's going to be in a room now with Adam Thielen, the Godfather, and Henry Renfro, another Godfather.
Hunter Renfro.
Hunter Renfro.
Shout out to Moose Muhammad III, who got picked up, undrafted free agent. He's in there too.
But when you get Jimmy Horn in a room with Renfro and Thielen, man, he's going to learn the game in a whole different way, in my opinion. He's going to learn spacing. He's going to learn, this is why I'm going in motion. This is what we're getting right now out of man coverage. This is what I can do to this linebacker who got me all of a sudden. I'm in the slot. I'm about to make him pay. You know what I'm saying? So, there's just a lot there for Jimmy Horn to just, continue to thrive as a speed guy, but we don't even really know what he's actually capable of until he polishes some things up. And so that's what I love about that pick is the ceiling there is super high. I think that was a great pick for us. Because we need speed. We need some guys that can take the roof off.
Real quick on Jimmy Horn, when he came out of UCF and went into the portal, West Virginia, Colorado, that was kind of a huge battle that they were ongoing there. Obviously goes to Colorado, so I know a little bit about him. Had he gone anywhere but Colorado, I think he would have been a 4th-round pick or maybe even late 3rd. When he went to Colorado, and this is no disrespect to going there, but he got, I think, put in the shadows a little bit with Travis Hunter and some of the other guys that they had on offense.
Yeah.
He put up decent numbers even still at Colorado, but this is exactly what they needed. If you go and look at I think it was my day 3 mock draft, I didn't have him pegged, but I said, watch for another receiver. because they need speed. They are lacking speed big time in that receiving room, particularly at the slot. So, like you said, you put him in there with Adam Thielen, Hunter Renfrow, David Moore's still in there. He's not going to have to come in and play right away, but he can make an impact on special teams too.
I do got to mention too the fifth round pick, Mitchell Evans, the tight end from Notre Dame. I'm very intrigued with what they can do with him, because they were talking about Evans like, round 2, like that he should be popping up here somewhere, and then for him to still be on the board, for us to get him in the 5th round, I can see double tight end packages like with him and Ja'Tavion Sanders, like that kind of thing. Like the offense changed over the weekend. The offense got to a point now where I think we forgot Dave Canales is a wide receiver coach. Like we probably should have been talking about that from the jump. Like and so Brad Isaac, he coached wide receivers as well. We probably should have talked about the fact that they might go after a wide receiver, just because of their background and everything. It makes sense with the amount of money they spent on the offensive line. That's why we have the most expensive offensive line in the NFL going into next year. The pieces they tried to put around him last year and what they did this year, I don't think Bryce really has a whole lot of excuses really going into next year. Like you've got a good offensive line now. You've got a plethora of running back. You've got a wide receiver room. You've got 4 tight ends, basically, if you want to count Ian Jackson and that mix and the other one. You've got weapons now. And now you've got a defense that can potentially stop some people from running the ball down your back. So you've got a chance of not being shootouts every single week. Protect the ball, get it out to your playmakers, and be Bryce Young. Like, I mean, they believe in you. Like, so like believe in yourself again, and let's keep this thing rolling. And I think he'll pick up from where he left off last year. I think his confidence is through the roof. And another thing too, I didn't know, Stu, we've been sitting there for weeks talking about what they're going to do with this first round pick. Nobody in the world knew that Bryce Young and Tetairoa McMillan have been throwing to each other in California for the past month or whatever. If we had known that we'd probably been like, yeah, they're probably going to get McMillan because Bryce will probably want him and they're going to want to make Bryce happy. That was probably the best kept secret of the entire NFL draft to me. Like,
and I love the development of that pick in itself. Bryce Young's been thrown to him for over a month. That's great. But that really says, hey, he's in alignment with the GM and everybody else in the scouting department. He has a voice, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what you want. That's what you want your quarterback to have while you're trying to build a championship football team. And so, and then the respect that Dan and Dave allow that, you know what I'm saying? That's a no ego lane driven team. and it starts up top. And so everything that we're seeing happening, people should feel really happy on Monday. You should feel like, oh man, is it Christmas?
Yeah.
No, not yet. We didn't necessarily, I wouldn't even say the thought process of, man, we won the draft. It's not about winning the draft. It's about getting answers. And I feel like we had some answers during free agency that allowed us to get some very good clarity in the things that we wanted to do in the draft. And we figured out how to get all the answers kind of to the best of our ability. And so now it's going to be up to these guys to showcase themselves and make a case and go out there and compete. And that's another thing too. I love, that we got, we don't know if we got upgrades in certain positions yet, but we got guys in certain rooms to push the guys that are currently there. And so the competition level, that's gonna automatically bring out the best out of every player that's sitting in one of those chairs.
Cam Jackson, the 6th round, or was it 5th round? I think they got Cam Jackson,
big boy.
Florida. 6'6", 340 pounds, something like that. Like they are not playing around about getting the ball ran on them this year. Like they're gonna have a rotation. And then of course you get Derrick Brown coming back. So it's like getting that extra 1st round pick. So I like what they did. I wish
run
they could play
stuffing D tackle won't give you a pass rush, but he will eat up some space.
Run into a wall.
What I'm saying? Free those linebackers up so that way they can go make some tackles.
Before we get out of here, real quick, was there any other teams around the league that you're kind of impressed with what they did? Because as much as we joke about Dallas, their first 3 rounds actually kind of hit the mark for what they needed in terms of just staying the course. I thought Dallas might be a place where Shedeur landed after the 2nd round was over. I was like, I would not be shocked if they end up putting a flyer on Shedeur Sanders, and 2 years from now, Deion Sanders is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Like we were talking about that in our chat. Dak is what, 31, 32?
Yeah, that boy old, man.
Near the end of his
I really love what the Giants did. I mean, my gosh, when you have
incredible.
Davon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and now Abdul Carter.
Yeah, that's
ridiculous. They're really setting things up for a good foundation there. If Jackson Dart turns out to be the dude, they're in a really good position. And Darius Alexander, the guy that they drafted out of Toledo, defensive lineman, I'm really high on him. Like I said, Cam Scattaboo, love that pick. But how about this too? Green Bay goes several years without drafting a wide receiver. And they finally take one, Matthew Golden, who I think is going to be a stud for them.
Yeah.
Jordan Love can really run. I think he's one of the steals of the first round too.
You know, Aaron Rodgers somewhere just punching in the dark, just like watching the draft. Just like, meanwhile, Pittsburgh, I don't know what's going on with Pittsburgh and their quarterback situation. It's almost like they think they're getting Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. They should have got somebody in this draft for a backup.
Yeah, because now they're in a position where it's like, are they going to run Wildcat like all year, or what's happening? Because I don't know who's the quarterback.
Who's their backup, Schuyler?
Well, they drafted Will Howard. Probably not going to be their starter, but they got Mason Rudolph as pegged to be their guy right now.
I don't think he's going to.
That's not going to happen. It's probably going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't sound like he wants to play. You're dragging a 40-year-old man out there that's already talking about retirement halfway to go play in Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh's going to mess this up. I don't know.
They'll be 9-8. They'll be fine.
Yeah. They'll get over 500. They'll get in the playoffs. I didn't realize Pittsburgh hasn't won a playoff game in I think almost 10 years. They haven't won since 2016 or something like that. So as much as we talk about Mike Tomlin, I can see why I have fans or friends that are Steeler fans that are kind of over him. And I can't understand it being a Panther fan. I'm do you not understand what you have? And they're we don't care. We're sick of Mike Tomlin, blah, 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 blah. I'm that's just being spoiled. Being spoiled as a football fan. Other than that, just looking through the picks, overall grade for the Panthers for this draft, I'll give them I don't want to let it overwhelm me. I'll give them a B+ because some of the picks, I don't know exactly how they're going to pan out, but some of them made too much sense. It makes me wonder if they're going to trade Jadeveon Clowney maybe, because you might have too many pass rushers on the squad now. You might be able to get something out of that. Same with Adam Thielen, to be honest. You got so many wide receivers now, and a lot of these are intriguing names. There's going to be teams knocking on the door for a vet. Do you keep him in-house and help with your own squad, or do you trade him off for some future assets? Keep an eye on that over the next couple of days too. Maybe they trade some of these guys off. And there's no guarantee Hunter Renfrow or Moose Muhammad III are going to make the squad, but it'd be a cool story if they did. So we'll kind of see. We'll go ahead and get out of here for now. When does rookie minicamp open up, Schuyler? Because that's got to be around the corner, right?
I think it's a week and a half or so.
Yeah. So we'll probably be back, not next week, but the week after, as rookie minicamp opens. We'll start to get some more stories about these guys, get more idea of the undrafted free agents that Dan's brought in, and kind of get a better feel of the team. That was something I wanted to ask before we got out of here. Your thoughts on the Panthers announcing that no fans will be allowed at training camp this upcoming season due to, what did they say, some kind of issue with space or something? But because they're not in Wofford anymore, they're
in Charlotte, but they're doing some construction on the field there.
It didn't seem like it didn't seem like Bryce Young and others were very happy about that. I can't imagine. Stu, can you imagine doing training camp without the fans there? Or does it really matter?
I've had some years where the fans weren't there, dog. Hey, man, look, this is what I Bleav. Training camp, you're supposed to suffer.
Yeah.
I want to suffer. I want to feel all you're there. You might as well just feel how terrible it is.
You don't need the Carolina crowd watching.
I don't need people watching me going through it. But no, I get it. But I will say this: when the fans do show up, it gives you an extra boost.
Juice.
And so if they're not going to be able to have the fans there, you're definitely going to miss that juice and that moment where it's like, oh man, it's after practice. I'm getting some water. Go sign some autographs. Make somebody's day. That's part of being a pro, right? That's part of why the NFL is so special and why you would want to be a Carolina Panthers, because we have the best fans in the world.
Guess I'll have to wait another year. Y'all know my chronicles of trying to get down to training camp 2 years ago. Tornadoes wiped it out. when Aaron Rodgers and the Jets were here last year. I don't think I even bothered trying to get down there. I need you to talk to TD, because remember we were talking about maybe doing a show from his bar in preseason.
We gotta figure something out if we're gonna do something in person.
I heard he's got some good wings. Like, I heard their wings are fantastic.
Their wings are fantastic.
Yeah, let's make that happen. let's get that on the calendar.
Fantastic.
So we'll probably be off next week, and we'll take a quick break, but then we'll be back a little bit after that to talk about rookie minicamp. We'll get Stu's perspective on how that goes, in terms of, can you make a name for yourself in rookie minicamp, or is it just installation, that kind of stuff? But we'll get into the nuts and bolts of all that kind of stuff too. Schuyler's back from paternity leave, so I'm sure we'll have something pop up between now and by the time we get back. Again, you can find our video on the Bleav YouTube channel exclusively now. The easiest way to find it, if you're listening to this, if you go over to the Bleav YouTube channel, go over to the playlist tab, and if you click that, there's a Bleav in Panthers playlist, and it should have all our episodes. I think there's like 12 of them in there. You should be able to go in. They said they switched it around. The newest ones were at the bottom. They're supposed to have switched it so the newest ones are at the top, but you can get to all those there. The audio has been where it's always been on all major podcast platforms, or you can go to Bleav.com, look up Bleav in Panthers, and you get it directly from Bleav. But we got to get out of here. For Schuyler Callahan, Jonathan Stewart, this is Desmond Johnson. You've been watching and listening to Bleav in Panthers here on Bleav Podcast Networks. Keep on it.